Hello and welcome once again to CanonBlogger.com, your online resource for everything from Photoshop video, tips and tricks, to camera articles with thoughts, concepts, and ideas relating to photography. Thanks for tuning in, and now for today's video podcast tip. Hello and welcome once again to CanonBlogger.com. This week I'm going to be showing you how to improve an image by increasing blur. And I know that sounds counterintuitive to some of the basic concepts of photography, but I'm taking an example here, a shot that a member of our photo club shared in the forums recently. John Oman is his name, and you can see his photos over at johnomanphotos.com, as evidenced by the picture here that he shared inside the forums. And you'll notice that when he shared this picture, we did tend to see some lines that weren't completely blurred out along here, over here, and you can see another line back here. And it looks like it's from some kind of fence line or something in the background. And he used a really shallow depth of field to try and blur it out as much as possible, but obviously was not able to completely blur it out. Some of the comments that he received in the forums were that the lines were visible and it was a little bit of a distraction. And he asked what would be a way to do that. I went ahead and shared a technique with him on how to do that. And what I've done is, let me go ahead and bring the layers palette in here so you can actually see what was going on. I took the original image outside of the forums and pulled it up in Photoshop. Then I added a second layer to it. And on that second layer, I applied a Gaussian blur, so that pretty much blurred out everything. And you can still see the lines here because you know that they were there before me having pointed them out. But if you were to apply a little bit more blur, or you wanted to remove that completely, you could just increase the amount of the Gaussian blur on the image. The other thing I did at that point then was I made an active selection out of the original flower on the background layer. And to do that, one of the best ways to do it actually inside of Photoshop is the new quick selection in CS3. With a quick drag of the mouse, you can actually get a pretty accurate selection of objects inside your image. It's gotten really good at detecting edges inside of Photoshop. And I'll just go ahead and drag in a little more here to pull in this other purple. And you see how it's actively picking out, and the only reason why it went over into the brown there is because my mouse actually did. And you can use that technique with a little bit of plus minus on the lasso, or if you have a pen tool it would be much more accurate. But anyway, in doing that, I was able to create a whole new layer from that selection, and that looks like this. Let me scroll this back out so you can see the whole image. So then, having made that layer of just the flower, I moved that above the blurred layer to get the end result effect, which you see right here. And then I also used the history brush to bring back his little signature and the tagline here down at the bottom of the photo. But that's another way that you can actually increase blur inside an image to accentuate the subject of a picture that you want to take. In this case, it'd be a flower. The same could work for multiple types of photography, but it works really well with landscape and still life photography. So I would encourage you to go ahead and try that technique in your own images that you take. If you'd like, you can share pictures with Canon Blogger online. All you have to do is stop over to the blog site, which is located at CanonBlogger.com, and post a link to an image inside the comments, or if you'd like, you can email me directly. I would also like to remind you there is a new poll up in the poll side on the right hand panel of the blog there that asks how many cameras you own. It seems more and more these days people are owning more cameras, or there's more cameras in a household because everyone in the house owns a camera. Right now we've got 13 people that have participated. I'd encourage you to stop in there and add your 2 cents. Two other things I'd like to point out to you for this week's show as well are the Digital Photography Show has released their latest show. It's the last of the interviews from the PMA show They talked to the folks from Jobo, X-Rite, and X-Shot. It was really interesting stuff there. I would highly recommend downloading the show and listening to it on your MP3 player, in your commute, in iTunes, however you listen to your music. It's a great way to pass the time while you're commuting. That's how I listen to Scott and Michael. So I'd encourage you to stop over there and check it out. And the other thing I'd like to point out this week is The Online Photographer. TOP, they have this guy does kind of what I do, but on a much better scale. He does a post every day, but it's really often very meaningful and very intellectually based. He's got a thought of the day here, and it's a really interesting perspective on the creative tendency of photographers and how it can be limited by your clients. Just really good food for thought. He presents it in a really great way. There's some excellent comments and feedback there. Online Photographer is always really a great place to go if you want to get into the theoretical and the esoteric discussions that are associated with photography. So I encourage you to stop over there if you have some time to digress in that field, because it is a fun way to digress when you need a break from the monotony of taking and editing pictures. That's it for today. If anyone does have any comments, feedback, techniques, or ideas, suggestions for future episodes of Canon Blogger, I would encourage you to share those with me. You can do so, as I said, in the comments section on the blog, or you can also email me. My address is jason@canonblogger.com. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Have a good one. Bye.